I'm just thinking about myself at 18 when I met my husband my freshman year in college. I think you're speaking, Inaz, from a hindsight point because you're older. At 18, your mind isn't even processing things like that. So I think about myself at 18. I met my husband. I was like, "Ooh, he fine," right? That was my level of like wanting to my level of approach, and then having conversation. It was like in my mind, it was deep conversation. But in hindsight, thinking about it now, I'm like, that shit wasn't deep. It was just stuff that I just didn't know, and it sounded good, right?
So taken, like, here's exactly what I'm getting at, right? Because like I get your perspective, because when I was gearing up to get engaged and I had that conversation with my parents of like, listen, there's a dude, I really like him, this is what we're planning on doing. The first thing my father said to me was like, listen, all of the faults this man has, they're not going anywhere. Like, if he never changes, are you okay with that? Right? Like, immediately he went into like, listen, let's look at every possible worst case scenario. Are you cool with this before you jump into this? Right? Like, he was the adult in
How
that
old were you?
situation. I was a little bit older, but I don't think that would have changed the nature of his conversation with me.
Yeah, I
Right?
don't either.
But that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, where was there somebody who was like, girl, like, this is the reality of marriage, right? Are you equipped to really handle this the way that you think you are? Are you in a position to actually do this? Any conversation to be like, hey, here are the red flags, we're waving them. If you haven't seen them, we're waving them for you, right? Like, was there ever at any point anybody who genuinely cared about this woman while she was a young girl to be like, maybe this is something you need to reconsider? I haven't heard anything or seen anything online in regards to that. She hasn't mentioned anything, he hasn't mentioned anything, but like, at some point, like, we talk about community so often, and these are the areas where community is really important. Where was there somebody at that young age to be like, we need to step in and have a conversation if we see didn't make sense at all?
Let me mute.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's not it. But what I was going to say is, and again, I'm only speaking this part from my personal experience. So it, to me, some of this stuff would make sense of how things can happen. I know people be like, oh, no, you capping or making up excuses. I'm speaking from real life experience. So it's not an excuse. I'm just saying whether or not this, this is how things could potentially happen. So for instance, when I met my husband, before, of course, he became my husband, I was 18. I was a freshman. He was a junior at that point, right? My parents did not meet him. So I was away in college, 8 hours away. So it wasn't like my parents were there. I was having conversations, but I didn't talk to my parents about my boyfriend, who I was dealing with, like. So conversations in regards to that wasn't happening. By the time my parents met him, we were already dealing with each other for 3 years. And then they met him, I'll say one time while, I was still in college. They met, he had came when we were on like some kind of break. He came to visit one time. They spoke to him a little bit, and then we were off in, the basement watching TV or whatever. So our parents really wasn't like around. So they met him for a few, had a little bit of conversation, and that was it. Then I'm back off to school. Then I moved off campus, right? Had my own apartment or whatever. So I didn't come back home. So until I graduated is when they actually got to meet him. And I was already at that point pregnant, had a child by him. So I'm not saying that that was her situation, but what I'm saying is I can see how easy it can happen where you're saying, well, where was the adults? Where was the parents? Where were the conversations around him? Is possibly that they didn't know until she got pregnant. That was my situation. So that's why I say it could happen. It's not so far-fetched.
Yeah, especially, yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I can see that. And it depends on where they live, because our school is in Alabama. So I don't know the timeline of all of these events. I'm pretty sure she didn't name it. So and I don't think either of them is from Alabama. So it just depends. Guys, better late than never. Would you guys like to chime in?
See,
You heard that.
I'm yeah, I'm missing the context of kind of where this conversation came from. My
Very.
apologies on being late. You know, I had the
It was a
graduation,
joke.
so
Joking. You already told us why you're gonna be late. I'm joking. But we were talking about Derek Jackson's ex-wife, the video about studying the other chick, and we were just trying to we were just making assumptions about what took place. That's all.
so so I watched
So what's
a
the
screen.
what?
Yeah, what's the actual question?
We just
Or we
wanted
just
to know, what do you guys think about that? We brought up this, what she stated, which was that she watched the videos of him being intimate with other women, and she studied that, being just trying to be a better wife to him in
okay,
her eyes.
so there's more to the story. That she's telling her story on the back end, but on her Instagram and on her Facebook, Red Lipstick Vibes had already done given a full recap of a timeline according to her Instagram and her Facebook. So there's a lot more to the story. It's not the first time she's actually studied women. Starting off in college, she wasn't even in his orbit. So what she did in college was study the women he was dating, because keep in mind he was an athlete and she had taken a liking to him. So she studied the women he was dating and basically weaseled her way into his life by mimicking the women that she thought he liked. Then she became the side chick, then exploded, basically exposed him to the main chick so that she could become the main chick. So what she got into, she created them. In my opinion, she created. I'm not calling him a victim because I can't stand the dude.
She went after what
Period.
she wanted.
And she got exactly who he was. Like it was not like there was anything different. It didn't like it popped up on her. She knew who this guy was. So when you become somebody to be with somebody instead of being authentically who you are, don't be surprised when the outcome is exactly what got you that seat at the table.
So AP, are you saying that she technically is Mystique from X-Men and Derek Jackson is the victim? Because that's what it kind of sounded like.
So I don't want to call him the victim. I want so my issue is I won't call a man a victim because we still choose who we are in the relationship with. But what I will say is she positioned herself to be that lady for him. She ended up getting pregnant, and of course, I mean, we are where we are at this point. But that was kind of by her doing. I can't call him a victim. Shit, he was getting what he wanted at one point, right? I mean,
Well, did he lose?
He's a conniving asshole. So I mean, like, I can't say anything positive about the dude.
Oh, well, not in that sense, but like,
you know what I'm saying? Like both of them are who they are.
Oh yeah, not from a moral position, but like, I mean, who's a loser in this situation? I guess.
She manipulated her way into his life. He manipulated her while she was in his life, and it is what it is. Like I don't, man. To the hell with them both. She got exactly what she went after.